My other takeaway was the Chiefs have embraced the underdog role. Of course, they're betting underdogs for a third straight playoff game. They're now 2.5-point underdogs in the Super Bowl. And Mahomes in particular sounded like he relishes that role. So, Keyshawn, what were your biggest takeaways from the night?
I think it was a bunch of stuff, though, right? You got...
It was a whole bunch of stuff.
It was a whole bunch of... You got Toney talking about he's the number one wide receiver. You got Ward from San Francisco saying it's better in San Francisco than it was in Kansas City, despite winning a Super Bowl with the Kansas City Chiefs and not winning one with the San Francisco 49ers as of yet. Yeah. But in all, I like the whole, let's stay on the Taylor Swift, right? I just like the fact that they are embracing her. Everybody seems to not be jealous of Travis Kelce and hers relationship, and she's going to suck up a lot of the light that comes with her being in the stadium from the team. You know, as soon as something happens positive, the television cameras pan to her, and the players seem to embrace that. They don't have a problem with it, but that's showing the respect out of the leader.
So quick question. If you had been a Chief, or let's say you were a Jet, and this same situation sort of occurred, at some point...
No, I wouldn't be the one dating Taylor Swift.
I know, but would you get resentful of the questions? Because after a while, you're like, oh, no, not another one.
No, because I've been around players that have dated celebrities along the way. Yep. And it's not as big as Taylor Swift, but you still got questions about what do you think about this person? Oh, that's cool. Yeah. It's not my business, so I really wouldn't care. As long as they're taking care of their business like he's doing with his 11 for 11 against the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, you mentioned earlier in the season, would it become a distraction to the team as this thing continued to evolve? And clearly it did not become a distraction because they're playing in Las Vegas in the Super Bowl right now. So there's no jealousy there. I just like the fact that they have basically accepted her as part of, and her Swifties as part of the Kansas City Chiefs kingdom. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's fun. You know, it's part of team sports, Skip. You know, winning cures everything. I think teams embrace the good, everything about one another, especially in situations where you're going to the Super Bowl. So I'm sure in the locker room, guys are excited. It's fun. You know, it may be, they may pick fun at Travis a little bit in a loving way, but it's part of them. It's part of what they got to deal with, and there's no jealousy. I think it's weird, the amount of negativity this gets, because it's not that big a deal. It's fun. It's fun for the league. It's fun. It's a fun moment in time. It's a fun moment for Travis, and obviously Taylor, she's trying to support. She has a busy schedule. She's trying to be a part of her boyfriend's life. I don't see the big deal about why it should be negative in any respect. I think it's weird anybody that sees it that way. Maybe they don't have girlfriends or they don't have supportive partners, and maybe that says more about them than it does about Travis or Taylor. But I think it's good. I think I like how the Kansas City Chiefs are handling it. I like how the San Francisco 49ers are handling it. I like how the NFL is handling it. Because they're being all positive about it.
They are. It's also possible that by, they've got an interview session Wednesday and Thursday for an hour and an hour. It's possible by late Thursday's interview session, they'll be like, just give us a little break here. Like we've answered that question 34 times already this week. That can annoy you after a while. I've seen that happen with other circumstances similar to this. Yeah,
it could annoy you if it's the same question. Yeah. But if you phrase that question differently, you get a different answer. You understand what I'm saying? Now, I don't even know what the questions were because they kept, as you said, they kept panning from his interview to somebody else and they come back later on. But is there a question of, is there marriage in the future? Oh, that question may be different. They may have not asked that question last night. On Thursday, somebody may ask the teammate, can you see them ever being married? So it's a different question. But by the time they get the kickoff, all those questions should be answered.
So you brought up Kadarius Toney, and this was maybe a flashpoint of the night, interviewed live on NFL Network by Michael Robinson, who was Richard's former teammate, obviously, in Seattle. And
he did a great job.
He did a great job. He did a great job all night, by the way, but this was a tricky, tough one, and he had to kind of ease into it with Kadarius, like, why did you blast the Chiefs exactly? And I don't even want to try to tell you exactly how Kadarius answered it. It was all over the map. It was a little convoluted. It was definitely confusing. I think he said that he was responding to Giants fans about his time with the Giants. And then he said, I got distracted and interrupted and I didn't finish. And then I went back and it
clearly he didn't take PR 101.
I don't know.
That's for sure.
I don't know.
He didn't. You could just tell.
He barely took rules 101.
But you could tell that was a shock to his system. So when you start grabbing at straws, I'm not saying that the man is lying, that he wasn't talking about Giant fans or because his time with the Giants didn't end well.
No.
But let's face it, the Giants, that was 2 years ago. He has now been on the Chiefs 2 years in a row, 2 Super Bowls. So that's so long ago. Why are you still talking about the Giants or communicating with Giant fans if that's the case? We all could assume, at least I'm going to assume, that he was certainly talking about the Kansas City Chiefs, especially after everything has unfolded the way it has over the last several weeks of the season, where he was inactive and some bad things happened in terms of his on-play ability over those last couple games. So I'm certainly thinking he's talking about the Kansas City Chiefs and not the Giants.
And obviously,
no question.
He was indicating on, it was like a IG Live, I think, that he was not injured, that the Chiefs were fabricating the fact that he was injured just to, and yet we talked about it here on the show, and I said, well, maybe they're just trying to give him a break, give him a way out of this because he did get demoted because he dropped a couple of balls. He tipped a couple into interceptions. So where is he now? Keyshawn, what's your gut feeling? Where does he stand with this team? Can you see him playing in the Super Bowl?
He's active.
Yeah, he's definitely active.
He's active.
There.
So I think they may still play him, because sometimes, first of all, Andy Reid has so much respect that a cooling off period could make things a lot easier for you. And they certainly could utilize him in some of his special, unique skill set in this game, as you mentioned, punt return, for instance, or some fly sweeps or screens, or things that he's capable of doing. They certainly could utilize him in that capacity. So I expect for him to play. How much he plays, I have no idea. But I expect for him to see some tick.
Yeah. All right. Now to the final theme that I brought up, which is Patrick Mahomes as an underdog. Again, they're now 2.5-point dogs to the 49ers. How dangerous is he in that role? Because I think he eats this up because he's never really been able to play this role before. And this will be the third straight game, obviously, at Buffalo, at Baltimore, and now Super Bowl 49ers, in which they have not been favored. What do you think, Keyshawn?
I mean, I think
Richard,
he'll be fine.
Yeah,
I think he'll play like he always plays the Super Bowls. He plays well. He executes down the stretch. He executes throughout the game. At times he turns the ball over, so there'll be opportunities there. But I don't think, I think he's embraced the role thus far because people said he couldn't win on the road, and he proved he could win on the road. He could win an AFC championship on the road because he hadn't done so in his career. And so I'm sure he embraces it, but I don't know. This game feels more even than underdog to me, but the Vegas numbers say he's an underdog. I'm sure the Kansas City Chiefs are embracing that in their locker room, and we'll see how it plays out Sunday.
Yeah, I just think he gets more and more dangerous the more you tell him he can't, that he's the dog in this game.
You do realize he was the underdog last year, Super Bowl as well. He was the underdog last year.
They were slight underdogs.
They were underdogs. Underdogs, slight, 1 point, half a point. They were underdogs, right? And most of the underdog stuff, the favorites, it's about money in Vegas. It's not, is he a better quarterback than Brock Purdy? Is Kelce better than Kittle? It's not about that. It's the money. So as players, if you sit up and you pay attention to the line before you take the field, you feel like you don't have a chance at all. You will be demoralized if you look at, oh, God, we're 7-point underdogs.
Yeah.
Even though you know better as a player. And I'm sure Patrick Mahomes knows better as a player that it, like Richard said, it might be pretty even in terms of just look at player for player, system for system, record for record. It's probably as even as it could possibly get, but because the money is coming in a certain way, people are betting on the 49ers opposed to the Kansas City Chiefs, which makes them the underdog.
Yeah, I just think Patrick sits back and he said all the right things about Brock Purdy. He said he watched him a lot at Iowa State, thought he was underrated, on and on and on. But I think Patrick sits back and says to himself, wait a second, you're telling me I'm a 2.5-point underdog to Brock Purdy? And I think that drives him. I think he's been on a mission to show you he could win on the road, and here we go again with another mission.
Yeah, I don't think, to be honest with you, Skip, I don't think he's losing sleep over Brock Purdy.
I don't think he...
No. I think he may be losing sleep over trying to figure out how to beat the San Francisco 49ers, but he ain't losing no sleep over trying to figure out how to be a better quarterback than Brock Purdy.
No, that's the point. That, that he's saying, really? You're favored him and them over me and what we've done? Because so far, Patrick Mahomes in 3 playoff games has not thrown one ball that was considered turnover worthy. So he has no lost fumbles, no interceptions, not even close to an interception yet. So that's why he would say, why am I the underdog in this game?
Well, I think he knows if the conversation comes up, he knows that. But again, Skip, players don't sit around looking at the line trying to decide if we're underdogs or not, because
I don't know. Andy Reid made a big deal about it last night. He kept bringing it up, and we are the underdogs. And we are
because
the underdogs.
they kept asking him about it at some point in time. You got to respond to it. You have to address it. But I can tell you, they're not sitting around saying we're underdogs, because if you felt that way, you would walk out there and say, I don't even have a chance.
No, I think it's the other way. I just think they're on fire about it. They were on fire at Buffalo and on fire at Baltimore.
Well, they're on fire at Baltimore and Buffalo because they had to go on the road, and they playing a team that everybody believed at home would get them in the Buffalo Bills, because the Buffalo Bills beat them earlier in the year. So they figured, oh, we're going to cakewalk this thing. And they went out and took care of business. And then when you talk about the guy who's going to win the MVP and Lamar Jackson, the #1 seed, everybody assumed I assumed that Baltimore was going to be in Vegas. And so because of that, players see it and they say, okay, well, we'll quiet that noise.
Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Do you want more highlights from the show? Make sure to click that subscribe button for all the exclusive content from Undisputed.